Hello and welcome to the weekly Blackpool FC preview show. I'm Jed Mills, and coming up today, we'll look back on the past week's matches against Sunderland and Rochdale. We'll hear from former Seasider and ex-Shrews manager Mickey Mellon. Neil Critchley shares his thoughts ahead of Saturday's game. Plus, we'll hear from this man. That's right, Sully Kaikai discusses his season so far. Well, I'm pleased to welcome back in the studio with me this week former Blackpool striker Andy Preece. Andy, thank you very much for joining us once again. Well, let's look back at first of all, that win against Sunderland. Great win. And for me, a real confidence booster going into these last few games.
Oh, definitely. Playing against a team that you're likely to play in the playoffs when everything settles down, to put on that sort of performance against a team that had been in really good form. I know they'd lost the previous two, but before that had been on a real good run of form, and probably playing close to their very best as well. Just good signs going forward. Yeah,
and looking as well at Dan Ballard defensively, for me probably the best game he's had this season in a tangerine shirt, and just how, I suppose, composed, how strong he looked against, the top goal scorer in the division as well at such a young age.
I think that's the impressive thing, is that he's handled all aspects of the game. It's quite physical, League One. So when you're coming from Arsenal and the academy system, where it isn't as physical, you just wonder whether they'll be able to stand up to that. But he stood up to that, and on Saturday, no better example, coming up against a big lad who puts himself about. And he's handled that really, really well. And like you say, really composed on the ball, and prepared to go and get himself hurt on the one that that he cleared off the line and hit the post. Such an important and big performance.
We'll come on to Rochdale soon, but just going back to the Sunderland one about playing teams, up in and around that sort of promotion race. They've got a really good record, and surely now, looking at the games left, they're probably thinking about the end of the season, playoffs, automatic. That stands them in good stead, surely.
Yeah, because sometimes you have a look at it and you start looking around who you might play, and always you look and think, we've not done so well against them, or I'd love to play against them. We've got the sign over them, so there's not anybody really to fear in there. So that's a positive thing. Still a bit to go, yeah, but I think it's really positive when you've had good results against teams that you're likely to come up against. And still got to go to Sunderland, so that can change very quickly. So it's important that to stay focused. But so far so good.
Well, let's look at that game midweek as well. Rochdale, the unbeaten run came to an end. Me personally, I don't think that's a bad thing. I was so worried. I've always said to you when we met that I was really worried this run is just continuing, because there is a time when it has to end. And for me, I was like, well, it hopefully doesn't end at the wrong end of the season, if you will. And for me, I was all right with this, because you can start another run and, not many games left.
It's difficult going to Rochdale, teams like that who were fighting for their lives, because it was so much on the game for both teams. And you will get those sort of games. So, it's nothing to worry about. I'm not dancing around saying, great, the run's over, like you, but it can be a positive in some ways.
Well, let's hope it certainly is a positive going into this weekend's game. I noticed as well, not really watering the pitch, away from home. They're obviously looking at Blackpool, they're seeing Blackpool, and that's a good thing. They know they are a big threat, counter-attacking, fast, play on the ground as well, really well. And it's those sort of tactics that you're going to get, especially at this time of the season.
Well, that's the respect that Blackpool have earned over this season. They're a good footballing team that they'll play on the floor, and like you say, very quick on the counter. So any advantage you can get at home, you're going to use it, and you can't blame any team for doing that. This will be watered and made as greasy and as fast as it can be, because it suits it. So home advantage is home advantage. You grow the grass. It's I've never had a problem with that.
Well, next up for the Seasiders is Shrewsbury Town, and one man who knows this weekend's side well is Mickey Mellon. Having made over 100 appearances for Blackpool and guided Shrewsbury to promotion in 2015, the now Dundee United manager discusses his time in Tangerine.
Oh, I loved it. I had a great time and great memories. Played with some really good players, good guys, brilliant manager. No, I really enjoyed it. The biggest disappointment is we didn't get promoted in the season where we definitely had the team to be able to do that, but it just wasn't to be in the end.
You touched on the manager there. How instrumental was Sam Allardyce in getting the best out of you?
Oh, massive, huge. Sam's type of management, the type of character he was somebody that knew how to get me going and keep me going. As he was with other lads. The lads had a great respect for Sam and were obviously devastated to see him go in the end.
He scored all sorts of goals for Blackpool, whether they were from well-worked free kicks, lobs, 40 yards out, you name it. Do you have a favourite?
If I can remember that far back. No, not really. I didn't score a massive amount of goals, but I obviously enjoyed scoring any goals, but I got as much out of creating goals for other people as well. But it was a great time. I loved the atmosphere at the old ground as well. Everybody all packed in down the sides and behind the goal. It was an atmosphere that I'll always remember.
I know you're back in Scotland at the moment, but you've kept such an affinity to the town.
Yeah, I've only just sold my house and moved up to Scotland. But I love the Fylde Coast and still many friends on the Fylde Coast. Like my family, all my boys, we're all still very fond of Blackpool, the football club in the town. My wife's from the Fylde Coast as well. All my kids are born there. So no, it'll always be a place that I'm very fond of.
Blackpool obviously face Shrewsbury Town this weekend, and it's another place where you've had tremendous success. You went in there to get the club back to League One, and you did it in the first time of asking.
Yeah, a really brilliant place to live in, a brilliant place to manage. Really enjoyed my time there and delighted that it was successful, and probably moved at the right time to Tranmere. You've got to get the timings right, I think, as a manager. But no, I had a great time there, and again made many friends there, and had some terrific players and great memories.
A bit similar to Blackpool this season. There was such a turnaround in players. How important was that to have that mentality right to bounce straight back up?
Well, you've got to get the recruitment right at the very start, and we were able to do that. We came, I think we brought something like 17 players in one hit. So it was really important to try and get the group right and make sure that you were recruiting for the dressing room and on the pitch. But we're able to do that, and again, like that Blackpool team, I played in many good characters and loads of terrific talent who have gone on now to do really good things in football. That team. So no, it was a great group and great memories.
You mentioned talent. It was obviously the season after that you signed Sully Kaikai on loan from Crystal Palace. He's someone who plays for Blackpool now, and he really hit the ground running for you.
Oh yeah, the thing about Sully is that for people who don't know him, he's also a terrific kid. He was only young when he came to us. He's got a brilliant family around him. I don't know if his sister still comes to watch him now. I think his family really support him. I always ask how his family is. But no, Sully is a real talent. Scores goals, great balance, pace, power, technique. He's got everything, and should really believe that he can keep kicking on and keep moving up the leagues again, back up to a level that his talents deserve, because he is that good. But no, a really good guy, and I'm really pleased that he's doing well for my hometown team.
Mentioned before, you're back north of the border, and you're with a different type of tangerines.
Yeah, it's a brilliant challenge, a massive football club with huge demands, huge expectations. But I've no problem with that. We embrace that. We're on a rebuilding job again to try and get Dundee United back to being the force that they should be in Scottish football again. But we're certainly heading in the right direction. And over the course of time, we'll keep moving it ahead and keep improving it. But it's a great club to be working at.
And away from the pitch, you spent quite a bit of time working on a book for several years about the first 100 days in management.
Yeah, it's just something that I seen that there was no help for managers. There's never been a book written about the principles and the procedures that managers may need in order to try and help them be a success. And then as it developed, I found that there was loads of crossovers with industry and outside of football. So I was able to put a book together that could help either people who get into any business or allow people to see what football managers do if ever they get the opportunity to be a football manager. But you could pick it up in any line of business because the lessons are all in there, and there's huge crossovers. But all the money goes to motor neurons disease, and that's important to us. That it was a book that was going to all be about giving back to from football to help anybody, and also for a great cause. As I say, every penny will go to motor neurons disease, and with Lenny John was an old teammate of mine.
Leadership's something that's always fascinated you, not just in football, has it, but across different other sports as well. You've always been somebody who's sort of engaged and picked the brains of different coaches, whether it's rugby union, cycling, all the other sort of sports, and see what you can bring to football. Yeah,
absolutely. I've been to see the Red Arrows, the SAS, Royal Marines, Toyota, been to see surgeons, barristers, you name it, that I think that I felt that they had a skill or they had a way of doing things that I believed would make us better and improve me. I would go and see them. I've been to see hostage negotiators and all sorts of characters that interested me and felt that they would help me in a part of my job that was going to make me better. And it certainly has. And I've really loved making all the connections in order to try and fill my tool bag, if you like, with all the necessary skills and techniques in order to, when they come along, that I might need them.
Well, Andy, let's talk about Mickey Mellon, looking all relaxed there, of course. Was he that relaxed as a guy, as a player?
Yeah, he was. You can see how focused he is on what he does and looking at different ways to get an edge. On the pitch, he was that calmness in the centre midfield. You could give him the ball, he'd look after it, he'd keep it for you. Off the pitch, a little bit different. A bit more of his character came out then than you probably see there. A good lad, good laugh, but focused on what he was doing, and you can see that. He's looked at different ways to improve himself.
Just hearing you speak, then, like I say, that calmness, a bit of a manager type as well as maybe speaking up. He sounds like he had everything for being a manager.
Oh, he had a bit of fire in him as well. He'd leave a foot in if it needs to be. And he'd say his bit in the dressing room. So you need all those things in your management skills. You've got to have a bit of everything. He's looked at different industries. My presentation when I did my pro license was very similar, looking at management coming into football management. And how that happens, and actually when you go into business management and the transition, it's totally different. So you can learn lots of things from different businesses.
I mean, you had Sam Allardyce was, I suppose, revolutionary, wasn't he, when he came in? And I know when he was at Bolton, he was sort of one of these first ones looking into science and stuff like that. You, Mickey, a few others that have gone into management, did you sort of take that? Did you realise how sort of influential maybe Sam Allardyce was to you all?
Probably not so much at the time, but he was bringing things in that now it's just normal. All the sports science, the drinks, and people actually coming in and doing the warm-ups and things like that. That was totally new. It was something that we'd never experienced for. I remember, psychologists, he brought psychologists in. We're thinking, well, what's this? This is rubbish. Some people won't buy into it at that time, but now, it's such an important part of the game, the mental side of it. So, Sam was well ahead of his time, and I think that probably, has made an impact on a lot of players who played for him.
For you going to making that transition as well, like Mickey's done, how difficult is it? How much of a change is it? Because I suppose every player would probably think, when I finish, I'll probably be a manager. But I suppose it's not as easy as that.
No, it is. Look, it's difficult to get the opportunity, first of all. So, I was fortunate that, I was playing for a club. They lost the manager. I was one of the most senior players. Micky went around it a different way. He went into Burnley, started coaching it at Burnley, and then got the opportunity at Fleetwood. And then from there, he's done brilliantly with every club that he's been at, and deserved that opportunity. It was quite a long time coming for him, really, but he deserved that opportunity, and he's done fantastically well. And they're just outside that, the European places. So it is difficult, and like he's done with the book, there isn't any, there's no magic formula. You're going to have all different sorts of different scenarios to deal with when you first go in. But if there's something that can guide you or help you, I'm sure there's some really good stuff in there.
Is times in this modern day of football you can try and overcomplicate things, trying to be something new?
Yeah, sometimes football has not changed over the years, and sometimes I think it can be overcomplicated, but you do have to look for a little edge here and there. So looking outside the game, I understand that, but sometimes I get lost with some of the speak that goes on now, and it's just like, I'm just blinded by some of the things it said, and I think it is a simple game, and you've got to find a way to win a game, and I don't think that'll change.
And looking at the goals highlights there, it was a nice little assist from you for Micky. You had a little chuckle at that one.
Yeah, because he didn't score many, so it was nice to be involved in one. I didn't expect to see me there, so yeah, it was nice.
Well, ahead of this weekend's fixture, Neil Critchley has shared his thoughts.
We have 5 games to go. Who knows whether you need 5 wins or 1 win? Who knows? All you can control is your performance and what happens when you're playing the games. Our next focus is Shrewsbury, and what we're going to need to do well to win that game. And that's, I think, how we've remained consistent. Believe in your process, believe in what you do, and stay consistent and persistent. And that sometimes can be difficult with so much attention and so many voices, but I like to think with the experience we've got and the way we are here, then that's quite easy for us.
What sort of game do you expect from Shrewsbury? Because they're in quite unique circumstances, aren't they, with the manager recovering from ill health? Yeah, and that's obviously been really unfortunate for Steve and for Shrewsbury. When you read some of the things that Steve's had to endure with contracting coronavirus, and then sort of had maybe a bit of a relapse, and you just wish him all the best. It's not nice to read those types of things, and from a personal point of view, I don't know Steve that well, but I've seen him in football for long enough to know, I know enough people to know the type of person he is, and we wish him obviously all the health and in the world. We hope he's well, and we hope he comes through this tough period, because his team has been a reflection of him. How well organised they are. They give everything on the pitch. They're committed, and they've got some ability as well. And I think their record since he's come in has been very good. They'd be like a top half of the table team. They've not been on a great run just recently, but they're still dangerous opponents, and they'll be wanting to. They're not quite safe yet, I don't think, so they'll be wanting to make sure that happens as soon as possible, and we happen to be their next game. So again, we have to make sure prepared, ready, and bring all the good things we've been doing on the run we've been doing. Try and bring them to the table at 3 o'clock on Saturday. There's still one unbeaten run intact, which is here at Bloomfield Road, and the only team in the top 4 divisions now in 2021 with an unbeaten record. That's some going when you consider the amount of home games that have been packed in. Yeah,
and it shows you we've been obviously very difficult to beat at home and away until Tuesday night. So we've been tough to play against at Bloomfield Road, and we want that to stay. We've got 3 home games to come out of the next 5 games. If we were unbeaten in those 3 games, and that would help significantly to where we want to end up at the end of the season.
That was head coach there, Neil Critchley, and of course echoing what Neil Critchley said about Steve Cottrell, and of course wishing all the best as well with his health. And never nice, is it? And of course being away, I suppose, Andy, you'll know a bit about that. You have spent some time away, more suspensions wise, but how tough is it to manage a team when you're not in the ground, you're not in the stand? It must be difficult.
It's so difficult. You can see so much, but you get more of a feel when you're actually there of how a game's going. So, I wish Steve, a quick recovery. It is difficult, and it will affect the team. There's no doubt about it. Not having the manager there. Looking
at their league position, I know recent form has not been great, but probably one win for them will keep them safe. I suppose that's an issue for Blackpool, isn't it? Because you want it quicker, sooner rather than later. But for the Seasiders, it's a case of it's a good time to meet them when they're on this run of form.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're probably in that mindset. They've probably done enough. It's going to take a few real strange results, although there were a few on Tuesday with the 4 sides that were down. They were all winning, so they have to be careful. So that might have refocused them a little bit. But the home form's so good, and although we lost the game in midweek, form's so good. That it's got to be one that we've got to be confident going into and getting the 3 points and getting back to winning ways.
And you've got some memories of Shrewsbury, more at their place as well. One of, I suppose, a game that you'll never forget.
Well, I won't forget. I won't forget. It was the snow was about a foot high. I remember us getting there, and I was like, probably one of the worst. Saying, there's no way we can play on this today. This is ridiculous. Somehow the referee played it. At half time, I've changed my mind. I got a couple of goals, and I'm like, you can't. This is safe. This is safe. You cannot call this game off. And I think we ended up winning the game. I think we won 3-1 in the end. But honestly, there's been some pictures. I think on Twitter this year with me, Linners, and Andy Barlow, Quinny. I think in that snow. I don't think that would happen again.
Well, as we heard earlier, Sully Kaikai had a very successful period on loan at Shrewsbury Town. Under the management of Mickey Mellon in the 2015-16 season, here he is discussing his time with the Shrews, as well as his current form for the Seasiders.
Yeah, on a personal note, I say it's been a decent season. I've struggled at times. I've been nursing a little injury from last season, so I struggled at times with that. But I feel like now I'm getting up to speed and really showing what I can do. And if I can continue and have a strong end to the season, then that'll be really good for the team.
You mentioned that injuries, that's just sometimes that you just carry that little bit of pain and play through it?
Yeah, it's just a thing of just managing the pain and discomfort. So I've had it throughout, like I said, the season and pre-season, so just managing that, and with the amount of games it doesn't really help, but I've managed to soldier through it and get to a stage where it's finally developing and getting better. So I'm now getting back to my normal self.
When you look at sort of last season and this season, what have been the big differences for you? Obviously, changing manager, different style. Are you finding that it suits you better?
I feel like I've definitely developed under this manager. I feel like he's very clear in how he wants the team to play, and everyone knows their roles. So there's a lot of consistency, which helps. And I feel like I've definitely developed under him.
So much sort of attacking freedom for you, but at the same time that defensive responsibility. Do you not mind that? Have you enjoyed that?
Yeah, I've enjoyed that. Like I said, everyone knows their roles. So for me, that's probably a part of my game that I needed to develop, the defensive side, knowing where to be tactically, and he's helped me do that. And the attacking part, it's just instinct, knowing where to be and how to carry the ball, and just doing what I can do.
In terms of your performances so far this season, which ones have you been really pleased with?
I'll say definitely Gillingham. That was a nice victory. I think the team played very well that day, played some nice football. So I'd put that at the top. Did
that goal, obviously when you started out on the left, the team are having the passes all around the pitch, does that just sum up the freedom that you've got within the side, that then you can suddenly find yourself on the right hand side, slip your marker and get the chance to finish like that? Yeah,
exactly. But I feel like for that game, it was very man-to-man marking. So it's more of me just using my instincts to lose my man and just going into areas where he didn't want to track me, and that's how I ended up on the right. but normally I'm more positioned on the left. But yeah, I have that freedom to drift in to like the number 10 role behind the strikers and just try and be creative and try and express myself.
You've now matched last season's goal tally. I suppose the target is to go and beat it.
Yeah, of course. That's what I set myself at the start of the season, to beat it and try and get into double figures. I should be in double figures, the amount of chances I've missed as well. But yeah, can only continue to get in the right positions and the chances will come, and then yeah, hopefully I'll take them.
Yeah, you obviously know that you're capable of doing that. It's about, in your position, assists and goals.
Yeah, of course. That's the way the game's going nowadays, stats based. So you know, it's nice to pick up some goals and assists recently and get the numbers up.
Shrewsbury Town on Saturday. It's a club that will have quite a closeness in your heart from a really successful loan spell.
Yeah, like you said, a club close to my heart. Enjoyed my season there, developed a lot, and I think that was the loan that really put me out there and made me known to like the football world. So yeah, it's always nice to go back there. When I go back, I get a nice reception from the crowd, and yeah, it's always a fixture that I look forward to.
What was it that clicked and really worked for you? Because obviously Mickey Mellon, who's a former Blackpool midfielder, he was your manager at the time. Did you have a really great relationship in the confidence he gave you?
Yeah, I think that was the basis of it, our relationship. Yeah, we used to talk all the time and I really developed. So like tactically, he'd take his time after training to make sure I improve certain aspects of my game and just give me the freedom to express myself and give me that confidence. You know, when you have the backing of the manager, it does give you confidence. So yeah, I think that was a major factor in it.
Would you say you are that sort of confidence player?
Yeah, at times, yeah, definitely. I feel like when I'm physically and mentally in a good place, with confidence, of course, yeah, then that's when I'm at my best.
And that was your best goal scoring season, wasn't it, at Shrewsbury? You got 12 and finished top goal scorer that season.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, something I'm looking forward to trying to beat, you know.
In terms of your own background and growing up, how much did you love going out and playing football as a youngster and growing up in London, and how important was your own background with your parents from Sierra Leone?
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, it was more of me just going to the cage with my friends, just learning different skills and just being streetwise, and that's how I kind of developed my style of play today. And yeah, I'd say I come from a footballing background. My dad played football, my brother played football, so that's how I kind of fell in love with the game. And I remember in primary school just watching the World Cup and then looking at players like Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and yeah, my love for the game just grew. And then from there, I just knew that that's what I wanted to always be, a footballer.
Yeah, you touched on your father there. He played football in Sierra Leone, didn't he?
Yeah. He played at a high level in Sierra Leone. So yeah, it's nice to have someone always giving me advice after games and keeping me level-headed from a young age.
We'll just go back to the point you mentioned about the cage. There's a lot of sort of players in London who've come through and play football there. How important is that sort of like street aspect in terms of owning your skills and practicing?
Yeah, I feel like it's very important. I didn't get into an academy until the age of like 15, so I had both sides of the game where I could be a bit more streetwise and know how to use my body a little bit more and just have that directness instead of like thinking about positioning on the pitch, and yeah, just a bit raw, to have that raw kind of talent. And then once I got into the academy, to kind of mould it with the tactical element, I feel like you get the best out of both worlds. So,
with the skills that you've learned and picked up over the years, how much do you practice those, and how much sort of new ones that you try and incorporate even now?
Yeah, I mean, it's more about doing them at the right time and not being too flashy with it. I feel like it's more down to instinct and just practice, like I say, just memorising what to do in certain scenarios when you're in certain areas of the pitch. And yeah, it's definitely helped me.
It's the business end of the season now. How much are you looking forward to what lies ahead?
Yeah, very much. I'm excited, and the rest of the boys are as well. We've got ourselves in a great position, and I'd say it's been well deserved. And yeah, looking forward to whatever comes.
Yeah, Sully Kaikai there, and he has been a great signing for me, Sully Kaikai. Had his injury problems at the end of last season, but again, coming back, he's really hit the ground running. He's been fantastic for Blackpool this year.
Yeah, he's a key player now, isn't he? he's the one that, you know, when you need a bit of magic or you need someone to pop up with something unexpected, he's the one, and he's almost that go-to player in those key games, outside of Jerry, obviously. But I think, you know, he just seems to be on the spot at the right time. Some of them, you know, have been tap-ins, but they're the important ones. And when games are tight, you need those sort of players who are going to change the game for you.
Hearing from Mickey Mellon before, you know, he talks about him signing at Shrewsbury from Crystal Palace, you know, Premier League club, but seemed to have everything at a young age. And again, I think Blackpool seem to be getting all of those benefits now.
Yeah, because, you know, he's had a real good grounding. Probably had a time in his career where things have gone backwards a little bit, and you're just wondering where it's going to go next. And you know, he just seems to have found a good place here. The fit's right, the style of play is right. You know, he seems to be happy in himself, and all those things, you know, need to come together sometimes. And you know, hopefully he's one that can take the club forward and up the leagues. Is
that similar to what happens with a pro? You can go to a team and it just, the formation, or as you say, just the tactics just don't work for you as a player. Don't make you a bad player, but it's just doesn't work for you. Yeah,
so, you know, sometimes that can be the case. Look, sometimes, you know, you can use that as an excuse, but it is sometimes the case that, you know, it just doesn't quite suit your style. But you know, you've got to adapt, and you know, and he has done. You know, he's worked hard. You know, he had those injury problems and probably a little bit in and out of form. But now, you know, he's got his head down, and you know, he's one of the first names on the team sheet.
Yeah, and at times as well, you see him as well. This must be a thing from Neil Critchley, just giving him that bit of freedom as well on the pitch, which he is that kind of player to me.
Yeah, to you know, to go and look for the ball, to go and find himself in areas where he's not picked up. He's got a little bit of time on the ball and space. Sometimes if you play in a rigid system where the defender sort of knows where you are all the time, I think being able for himself to get free and get on the ball like that, I think it's benefited him and benefited the team.
So based on that, do you think there's a lot more to come from Sully Kaikai?
I think so. Getting those regular games, he's only going to improve from that. His confidence is going to get higher, and you know, he's always had the ability, always had the talent. You know, you heard what Micky was saying. So I think, you know, there's a lot of potential still to be unearthed, and you know, he can go a lot higher.
Well, Andy, thank you very much for your time today. Before we go, just a reminder that the club shop is now back open on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays for you to purchase all of your BFC merchandise. The shop's open 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday, and 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Don't forget to purchase your iFollow match pass for this weekend's game with Shrewsbury Town to watch the match live, and just head over to the Blackpool FC website. Again, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next week.